Hello, Morongo Basin and listeners around the world online at Z107.7fm.com. This is your Z107.7 local news for Sunday, March 26, 2023. It's official, spring is here and the weather is finally playing along with some warm days that actually feel like the high desert. It's been a strange year of weather all up and down the state, but here in the Morongo Basin, the late snow and heavy precipitation have some whispering excitedly about a super bloom here in the desert. There's no official definition of this still nascent term for an extra colorful California wildflower season. However, just the possibility of an even more colorful spring spread of native flowers has the Morongo Basin and the National Park preparing for a potentially even busier spring than usual. Gary Daigneault spoke with Joshua Tree National Park Ranger Sasha Travaglio about springtime in the park. Sasha is the park interpretation and volunteers in the park program ranger and has spent quite a few springs in the national park. And she says that if you're hoping that this year produces the coveted super bloom, you may want to temper your expectations.
We did have a good amount of precipitation in the summer and the winter, but our winter precipitation was actually below average.
And that's what triggers the super blooms, is what happens in the winter.
Yeah, totally. You know, the flowers are, getting their moisture, the little seeds are getting their moisture for the annuals, and then the perennials, the plants that bloom year after year. But yeah, we did have that weird snow, and I think that kind of threw the flowers for a loop. But that's not to say that we don't have beautiful flowers in the park. We do have a beautiful springtime in the park every year, regardless of what the flowers are doing. Things are greener, so it is really beautiful. But
So it may not be a super bloom, but it's still a sight well worth seeing.
Yes, 100%.
The park will bloom, super or not, and spring is typically the busiest time of year in Joshua Tree and the National Park. And that means more traffic as people line up to get into the park, typically at the west entrance on Park Boulevard in Joshua Tree. The National Park says they're preparing for the uptick in visitors, and Ranger Travaglio has some suggestions for visiting during those busier times.
We're suggesting that folks, use the north entrance, which is in the
29 Palms entrance?
Yep, the 29 Palms entrance, because that entrance, due to its location, generally has a shorter line, so it's quicker to get into. And then if you're going hiking in the park, make sure that you're getting in early so that you can avoid those lines, and also have a backup plan, because sometimes your first choice, you're not going to find parking. Parking is the big issue in the park. We don't really have the capacity to manage as many cars as we get. So oftentimes the best place to hike in the park is where you find a legitimate parking space.
Ranger Sasha Travaglio spoke with Gary about more than just springtime in their hour-long conversation. You can stay tuned to Z107.7 throughout the week to get more tips about wildlife viewing and volunteering in the national park, or you can listen to their entire conversation as a podcast right now. We'll have their link at this story on our website. And that's your local news. You can hear local news 7 times a day, 7 days a week at 7, 8, 9, noon, 4, 5, and 6. Reporting for the Morongo Basin News Leader, the award-winning Z107.7 News, this is Robert Haydon.